Good afternoon, and once again, welcome to VetNet. My name is Jason Dozier, Manager of Plans and Operations here at Hire Heroes USA, and I'm joined by two of our veteran transition specialists, Daniel Coleman out in our Colorado Springs, Colorado office, and Adam Cranford out in our Alpharetta, Georgia office. And today we'll be talking about strategic planning. Before I turn over to Daniel and Adam, just to let you all know, especially those of you who have never watched or participated in the VetNet class before, we do these classes every 2 weeks. We cover a wide range of topics, including resume writing, interviewing, networking. Today we're talking about strategic planning. We have a class on LinkedIn, so everything you need to do to be successful in your job search, we cover those topics here on VetNet. And in general, the classes that we talk about, we provide as part of our training through our services here at Hire Heroes USA. So if you register for services with us at hireheroesusa.org, a veteran transition specialist like Adam, like Daniel, will reach out to you and work with you one-on-one to make sure that your resume properly articulates what you did in the service, so that you're more competitive in the job market. So if a hiring manager sees your resume, you see that you're an S1 for a BSB, they know that in fact you are a human resources manager for a support or sustenance military organization, something along those lines. So that's the type of stuff that we do. We help you become more competitive through those types of services, and we strongly encourage you to register for services with us at our website. VetNet has been going on for about 2 years now. It's an ongoing partnership between ourselves, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University, and Google. And like I said, we do this every couple of weeks. Our presentations are posted onto YouTube at the end of each class. So if you miss part of it, if you're a latecomer, we welcome you to also watch our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our Facebook page and our Twitter account, and you'll find all of our updates, our weekly updates on those particular platforms. So without further ado, Daniel and Adam, go ahead and take it away.
No problem. My name's, everybody just calls me Dan, but my name's Dan Coleman. As Jason said, I'm a veteran transition specialist out of here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, part of the Western office or region. Just a little bit about myself. I retired from the Army almost 2 years ago. I was military police, first sergeant, and then, like most veterans, I had to go out there and find a job. I was pretty lucky and landed a job as a VA benefits advisor, and then basically got sent to training to help me find veterans, service members, better jobs. So I decided to find myself a better job, and that was working with Hire Heroes. And I'll go into that more in a little bit, but I'll give Adam a little bit of time so he can introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam Cranford, and like Jason told you, I do work out of the Alpharetta, Georgia office here at the headquarters. I've pretty much been in the National Guard for the last 10 years, 6.5 enlisted, 3.5 commissioned. Still currently serving in that role. But at the same time, I've always been in the civilian arena, civilian workforce, I guess you could say. At the same time, we're looking to when it comes down to thinking outside the box, figuring exactly out what you want to do in life when you separate, retire, and which career path you want to go down. So that's what we're here to talk about today. And so thanks everyone for joining.
So I'll get ready to move on, but everybody can basically see the VetNet slides. A few things that I just want to point out. We'll talk about some statistics in the national economic climate and how that impacts you, and understanding that. Understanding the advantages that employers like in veterans, and some of the barriers that are out there too that, I'll talk about that personally some of us don't want to admit after we get out. And, I like to say determine your work preference, but brainstorming, what are you interested in doing? And then, determining whether you can meet your financial needs, or determining the jobs that will be right for you to meet your financial needs. So I'll get ready to move on to the next slide. So right here, you can see that Hire Heroes USA's job mission is right there, but we are a 501 Charlie 3, or basically a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to creating job opportunities for transitioning service members, veterans, and their spouses through personalized employment training and corporate engagement. So what does that mean? First of all, you're going to get in contact with the transition or VTS. and we're going to help you out with a few things. And some of the things we'll help you out with are, writing resumes and other things along that tool. So you can see here are some stats from the last 12 months. We have over 29,000 career counselings, over 4,600 resumes written. We've hosted 105 workshops overseas, also in Germany, at 35 locations, and we've currently held 20 Google VetNet classes. Right now, over the last 12 months, we are over 3,000 plus hires, and if you take a look at that, it's 57.69 hires per week. So I just want to tell you a little bit more about Hire Heroes also. So we were founded by a gentleman named John Bardis in 2005 after he determined that there was a need basically to help veterans find jobs, translate their skills, and he noticed that a lot of veterans were having issues entering the workforce. Adam, you got anything else?
No. Go right ahead.
Okay. No. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. So some of the things that you've noticed, and the slide will come back up here real soon, is that you saw basically 3 gears right there. One of the gears is the Veteran Transition Specialist. So you sign up for our services, a VTS will basically call you, okay? VTS being a Veteran Transition Specialist. We'll call you, conduct a quick survey, we'll ask for some documents, basically your evaluations, your DD Form 214, and find out what you want to do, and make sure that you have realistic goals, to work in that career field. Then after we write your resume, we'll send it to you via email, and then we have many outreach services, as you can see the other sprocket right there, or gear, such as, we have employees and volunteers that work in, over 60 different career fields that are willing to be your mentor, give you career counseling. We also have the resume or services. Mock interviews. If you land that job, we can get you a mock interview with a professional in the field that you want to work in. We can also help with federal resume assistance, and we also do LinkedIn revisions. Adam, you have anything else to add?
Just add one thing, that we do have our own job board here at Hire Heroes USA. So once we do complete the revised resume, we give you login activation for that job board. Then you go ahead and you can log into the job board and search for yourself through our job board, and as well as we get you going in your job search, as well as getting you some job leads to, like I say, like David said, Daniel said, to get your brainstorming, figuring out exactly some good positions that are in your arena.
Yes, and I forgot the last piece, and I want to point this out. The biggest gear up there is you. Me and Adam can help you with your resume, but we can't apply for every job. We don't know when you have an interview, so it's up to you to apply for the jobs. And one thing that I like to tell you, and that I've learned from working here, is when you're applying for a job, it's a full-time job. So 8 to 5. You should set aside time Monday through Friday to, apply for those jobs. Remember, you're the most important piece. Excuse me. I can't do everything for you. I can help you. If you have a certain job that you want, or resume that you want tailored, any of the VTSs that work for Hire Heroes USA can help you with that. If you're getting frustrated, reach out to us, and we can get you an outreach specialist that can give you good, realistic goals and expectation, and that person is a volunteer and is actually working in that field or has worked in that field, and they can give you the right information. I can't give you all of the information of what it takes to work in the IT field, but Hire Heroes USA can find the right person to do it for you. And just remember that those services that are out there for you. We can go on to the next slide. So we're getting ready to talk about strategic planning. What does that basically mean? It means you need to know the statistics that are out there and the barriers and things like that. So first of all, you have to recognize the barriers that are out there and take advantage of today's workforce. we'll talk about the barriers that are out there. Then you need to identify your professional goals. This is where I like to say you like to brainstorm. A few of the things that I did to brainstorm is what careers, and I got lucky when I got out. I was offered a job as a VA benefits advisor when I was sitting in the classroom, and all I had to do was send the resume there while I was going through the Soldier for Life TAP program. But one of the things that I noticed after I worked that job for approximately a year was that I like to work with veterans. And so by working with veterans, I figured out that I just like to do that. Also, I brainstormed a few more ideas. One of my hobbies is home brewing beer. Boy, it would be great for me to work in a job market such as for Miller Coors or for maybe one of the little micro brews here in Colorado. So I started applying for jobs like that. Consider your education. Take a look at the job posting, and make sure that you have the prerequisites. And some of the prerequisites might be a bachelor's degree, but sometimes they might have little things out there that or equivalent experience. So make sure you check that, because you might take yourself out of a job running if you just it needs a bachelor's. And with that being said, understand what your your income for your family is, and lastly, stay realistic. Make sure you're applying for jobs. If you have no idea how to be a news anchor, then you shouldn't be applying for a job like that, and, unless you've got some professional training. And Adam, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Just real quick, as far as understanding your personal needs and talking about income, and when it comes to benefits, as far as insurance and things like that. Well, in the military service, it's a good bit different. Your insurance is paid for. You're not thinking about things like that. And we always get to the point where we ask someone, hey, what's your expected salary down the, when we're doing our initial assessment, hey, what's your expected salary? And we always get a big pause because they haven't really thought of that. So it's always good to go ahead and start thinking about, hey, what do I need to make so my family can live comfortably? And also taking into account, hey, I'm probably going to have to pay for some of my insurance, whether, how much is the company going to pay, what are the hours of work, whether it's nightly, things like that, somewhat make your family go now that you probably need to continue doing. So you need to look at those advantages and disadvantages of the civilian workforce. And just talking about staying realistic and keeping an open mind with things. It's all about being positive within the job search. I know Daniel spoke to you about it being a full-time job, and it really is. When it comes down to finding that job position, hey, yes, I found it. This looks good. I match all the requirements. Then it goes down to tailoring that resume for that specific position, and then applying for it, and continuing to do that, on a daily basis, and just hoping to hear back something. And if you've done everything right, and if you do match up, more than likely you're going to hear back for an interview and things like that. But I just want you to keep your open mind, a very positive mind in your job search. Don't get down on yourself, continuing to just, truck along, putting one foot in front of the other, and because it can be somewhat of a stressful time. So, and also when it's talking about expanding your network, I think that goes back to the networking as far as not only your family, your friends, your military, your service members you've served with, but also, I know he's already spoke about LinkedIn and things like that. Reaching out, getting into that, connecting with individuals, looking for individuals out there that maybe work in a company that you would like to work for. So connect with those individuals, and maybe you can, have a chat with them on LinkedIn, or meet them out at the coffee shop to do like an informal interview, and just figure out, hey, what exactly does this company like, and down the road that same person be able to put in a good a statement about you, or and you just never know if that reference can really wind up getting you your dream job or your desired employment during your transition. So that's something to always think about.
Yes. Thanks, Adam. So, Adam brought up something that just kind of hit me. The best time to look for a job is when you already have a job. So, You know, if you get into a civilian career that you don't like, you can always look for another job. My sister had to hit me with that when at my last job when I was unhappy working there. She says, you know, remember, Daniel, this is the civilian world. You don't want to burn bridges, but you can look for another job. It is all right. So there's a lot of different, you know, we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. Uncomfortable silence. So I want you to take a look at some of these percentages. And first of all, you know, these percentages are, you know, they've been proven by the Department of Labor, and they've been researched by Hire Heroes USA up at our corporate level in Alpharetta. But don't let them discourage you. You know, some of the biggest things that I have to do, people have told me, you know, Daniel, you'll never make it to Sergeant First Class in the Army. You know, you can't do this. So this kind of, you know, helps me out. So there's about 21.2 million a population of veterans out there today. If you look at the Gulf War era, which from what I understand is basically right around the desert in the 90s, those veterans right there, they make up the largest percentage of veterans in the workforce right now. And if you look at the post 9/11 era, there's about 3.18 million out there of us, and 36% have served in Iraq, Afghanistan, or both. And you know what the scary part is, right now they are the most likely, or you know, I fall in that group right now too, pretty much both. But we're the most likely populations of veterans to be employed. And I can say that I've worked with veterans. Some of my, you know, my old colleagues from my different companies I was involved in, they are currently unemployed. Some things that you want to take a look at, some of these stats, so they don't scare you, is, you know, remember some of these veterans are using their GI Bill. They could be on 100% disability or a very high level of disability and aren't working. So it could be, you know, a little bit lower than 9%. But those are some of the, you know, some things that are out there that you might want to take a look at. Adam, you have anything else to add?
You covered that one.
Yeah. Next slide, please, Jason. So, you know, you need to take a look at the areas that you want to get employed in. And so there are typically some states where it's better to be employed in. Specifically, I'll start off with Virginia. Virginia is the biggest federal hub, with Washington, D.C. being there, at least along the East Coast, for federal jobs in America. And then you have North Dakota, Idaho, and I would probably throw Alaska in there too. You know, what are out there? There's oil fields out there. So, you know, you might want to take a look at working there. But do you really, you know, personally, myself, I don't want to move out to North Dakota or Idaho. Nothing to get anybody that's from that state, but that's just me. But know that there's a high percentage of employment in some of those states. You know, one thing I learned too is, you know, some states have they take better care of their veterans, and one of them right now that I know of is Iowa. They report at times that they have no unemployed veterans, or maybe 1 or 2 or 10, a very low number. And I can personally speak to this because I had unfortunately took in a soldier that was AWOL from that state, and I had to read a lot of the different reports and a lot of the money that this soldier had received through the Department of Veteran Affairs to help this one pay a rent and do things like that. So just take a look at the state you're going to and know the big picture that's out there for veterans. What is employment like, and things like that. I can personally speak to the Colorado Springs area. You know, we have Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, Schriever Air Force Base, and NORAD, or the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. So there is a huge market. I'm competing with, you know, higher-ranking NCOs and colonels, and in some cases, I have the same experience and/or education as them. So we're all out here looking for the same type of job. At education, you know, as it says on the slide, unemployment is higher for post 9/11 era veterans with an associate's degree or less in comparison with a non-veteran. You know, some of those non-veterans might have been working in a company for a long time and have developed, you know, some type of seniority, and so the education might not mean as much. or they've picked that veteran or that non-veteran that's ready to work the job. Research the industries that you want to get into. As you can see, veterans are almost twice as likely to work for a government organization. And I told you one of the organizations that I worked for was the VA. I was trying to pursue a federal job with the VA also. It's stable, and it's an employment opportunity that's out there for a lot of veterans, especially if you have a disability rating of 30% or more. And you can look down below a lot of veterans, and you can see, as I said, of those 3.18 million, we probably, most of us have served in Iraq and Afghanistan or both. So a lot of us have disability ratings, know how it can help you, and know how it can hinder you. And one of the things that I see on LinkedIn a lot is, disabled veteran. Is it everybody's business to know that you're a disabled veteran, especially if you're looking for a job? Do they need to know that? So, Adam, do you have anything else?
What I could stress, and going back to the location, and it's also something that you've got to think about as far as compensation, your benefits, things like that. Just moving on down to education, this is something that obviously jumps out at a lot of people. And along the lines is, if you're a veteran and you're thinking about, separating, or you've already separated, I would encourage you to get some civilian education if you don't already have some. And if you're not wanting to go, let's say, back to school and you feel like you're not a good student, well, at least try to go get some certifications. There are many certification programs out there, just like the Syracuse program that's paid for by J.P. Morgan Chase. That's huge. That's completely free. They waive test fees and everything. So that's something that you can think about and get some certifications, because what it comes down to is it's not only what you know, but it's who you know. You combining those together make you much more marketable than just your average Joe.
Yes. We can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So we can see the different statistics out there, veteran, non-veteran, and we can take a look at the post 9/11 veteran. The one thing I just want to stress: don't let the stats scare you. Remember, out of those 7.2% of post 9/11 veterans that are unemployed, remember, some of them are going to school, some of them are 100% disability or very high levels, and they're included in there because they're not employed. They could be working an unpaid internship and things like that. So it could be lower, but there's also other, and we'll talk about barriers that are out there, and I can name a few, and I'm sure Adam can too. But I want to stress, look at the 18 to 24 age group that is out there with a 16.2% unemployment rate. I mean, that is just huge. It's one of the reasons why Hire Heroes is here, basically to help you write the resume and set you up for success. And I would say that I was too proud to basically apply for services like this when I was out, nor did I know about them, because sometimes I was pretty ignorant. But I will say the resume that I used to apply for Hire Heroes USA was decent to good, but the resume that we put out here at Hire Heroes USA is excellent. And it will definitely, if you are out there looking for a job, it'll take those percentages down. One of the percentages I liked, and it's sent out by our leadership team, is we take veteran unemployment from 26 weeks to 13 weeks. And I will say, if you are looking for a job, you could probably look at, a month or less than a month. I've seen it happen with some of the veterans that are out there. And I'll hand it over to Adam, see if he's got anything else to add.
Daniel, just real quick, what I see from this chart is the lesser experience you have in the military, that creates a little bit of disadvantage. That's what the numbers show. I'm not saying that's the truth, I guess, or that's just the way we perceive it. Service members getting out after 4 years, those types of things. Their experience is little. Maybe they're getting out because they feel like just being in the military for 4 years or your first term is going to, somewhat just magically get you a job or not. So I just see that a little bit. The more experience you have in the military, I think, just to be honest with you, they transition a little bit better. don't really know, but obviously it's based on experience and probably some education that they've got along the way.
Yep. Thanks. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So, here's a big slide. A lack of understanding of how to effectively self-market yourself. One of the big things, I have made a LinkedIn account, and I sat through all the transition assistance programs when I left, unwillingly at first, but I'm sure glad that I did. But you have to get out and market yourself. You have to get out there and network. And one of the biggest tools that I know how to do that is LinkedIn. It's a professional networking site that is out there. And the other thing that I want to tell you is that there is a veteran network out there. When I was hired as the contracted VA benefits advisor, but I was hired by a Marine-owned small business, and I was very happy to get employed by them, but it was through a veteran connection. I think the next two are probably the biggest issues for veterans or problems. Unrealistic expectations. Trying to apply for a directorate level job when you don't have directorate level experience. Or applying for a directorate level job right after you get out of the military for a business that especially maybe a for-profit business, even though you might have an MBA, but you don't have the experience as working as a director in that type of for-profit business. In a sense of entitlement, I didn't think I had it when I was, retired from the Army, but I did. Some of the things that I've seen out there from myself and other veterans were, I want to be high. I've applied for your job or for your company. Why haven't you called me back right away, or why haven't you called me in a week? And the way I want to put it to you is like this: if you apply for a job, and I can tell you I've applied for one veteran company. They have a 4 to 6 month hiring process. So the way I like to say it is like, remember when you put in an award in the military? It takes 3 to 4 months for that thing to go through, and it could take that long for you to get a job. In the sense that, hey, I'm going to get out and get a director level job right away is, or I'm Dan Coleman, retired, first sergeant, United States Army. You need to hire me now. That's probably the biggest sense of entitlement, and maybe Adam has a little bit more that he could add.
As far as unrealistic expectations, we see it all the time. Well, I get paid this much in the military. That's what I want to make or more when I get out. Which, to be honest with you, I know being in the military, sometimes you feel underpaid, but you're actually pretty well paid compared to the civilian workforce. So, if you get out of E5 or E6 or even at E4, depending on what your certifications and education is, when you get out, I don't know exactly what you would make, but, you can't get out getting out as an E4 and expect you're going to come out here and make $70,000 based on, hey, I'm a military veteran, I have a sense of entitlement about me, and, that's going to lead me to somewhere where, I obviously probably don't have those requirements that they're asking of me. And just as far as, going into an interview, we all have our military jargon or language. The big thing is, one thing that we do here at Hire Heroes USA is when we go to do your resume revision, it's all about demilitarizing your resume, identifying, like you say, transferable skills over, and wording them different, okay? We're not, talking in military terms. As far as the way we speak when we go into an interview, you gotta, we're not talking military jargon. We're not using acronyms, things of that nature, although we still use some acronyms in the civilian workforce. Those are just some things, you got to think about. And like Daniel said, I think, you don't realize it at first when you have the sense of entitlement. But, hey, I think we all got that deep gut feeling that, hey, I served my country. I would at least, have a decent job, So that's something we all feel at times.
Yeah. I'll just move on to military jargon and language. I personally think that the Hire Heroes USA template is, and I explain it like this, it is a template that is made for any service or any grade or any job a veteran that has worked. We just need to add that information into the resume and identify what some of those jargon or things are. The other thing is, there's a few words that employers are kind of wary about, like combat or terrorism. Those are the type, if you have, like the Global War on Terrorism, Expeditionary Medal, I normally just put Expeditionary Medal down there for awards and things like that. So there isn't a stereotype like, he has PTSD and or this guy, he's crazy. So I try to word things different. I try to take infantry and change it to security. Even though I know that you weren't a security guard in the military, but did conduct security operations, over 125 security operation missions in certain areas in Afghanistan, and that you're proven in stressful and time-critical situations. So those are the type of words that I use, and I just like to say, I like to break it down Barney style, and just basically keep it simple. Use the KISS principle. Keep it simple, and don't use the jargon. Think of words that somebody in the civilian world would understand. And I don't know if you have anything else, Adam.
No, we can move on.
Okay. So these are, veterans' perceived disadvantages when trying to find employment. Explaining how military skills translate. It is difficult, especially for somebody like me. It's and I tell a lot of even senior grade officers that are in the military or field grade officers, it's going to be hard to translate your military skills. You have been used to being in the military for 20 years. And that's one of the things that we can do. We can translate those skills for you. We can get you a mock interview with a manager or a director, or executive recruiter for a company. One of the things that I've seen was that I thought was great that Hire Heroes USA did was a young captain that just recently got an interview with a senior recruiting executive for Starbucks, PepsiCo, and a few other big organizations like that. I think Target and a few other were in there, and gave this veteran great advice that landed him a job at corporate at Seattle. I'm not saying it's going to happen for you, but that's some of the things that we can do to help you translate your skills. And they can take a look and tell you, hey, I like your motivation and I like your loyalty and things like this, but you need to, you're talking too negative, so keep things positive and stuff like that. Employers don't understand military culture. A lot of times they don't, so you need to have a mock interview or things like that to help you out. And I think this is a big one. Employers don't have adequate, or don't think veterans have adequate skills. I tell a lot of the veterans I work, think outside the box. Yes, I know you've worked in the intelligence field or a great field like that. But what are other fields that you would like to work in? Just like I said before, I like to personally, my home brewing, I would love to work for Miller Coors or for a small brewery in town here, or even volunteer for them. And then, some vets think employers avoid hiring veterans. Maybe some do, but if you set yourself up for success and have the right resume and the right interviewing techniques, and you go in there and approach it and talk to them in terms that everyday people understand, I promise you that'll go leaps and bounds for you. Adam?
Yeah, you covered most of everything, and you're going back to the last part. Employees avoid hiring veterans, and that's what it's all about. Is when you go to transition, yes, you are a military veteran, and hey, thank you for your service, but and it may say military veteran on your resume, but at the end of the day, let's talk like a civilian from here on out. And to be honest with you, it won't even, if you have the qualifications for the job and you go in there and interview well and you have a good resume, they're not even going to think of you as a veteran at that point. They're just going to say it's on there. Yeah, you've done great things, but you're perfect for our company. I think you're going to make so many make this company run efficiently, and things like that. And that goes into explain and translate military skills as well. Is being able to not only do it on your resume, but when you go into in there to an interview, is talk about more explain about what's on your resume and do it in civilian terms. As far as employers do not understanding a military culture, I'm not so sure. Yeah, they probably don't, but they do know that you are very committed to an organization. It doesn't matter how long you've been in service, you stayed very committed. And let's not all forget, and I think there's a quote coming up down further in the slide. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But this is, you served in a volunteer army to a military to do a very difficult job. So you volunteered to do that, and you done it well. As far as you not being able, you not having the adequate skills. The good thing about the military is you get to go to various technical and professional development courses, and those are the things that need to be listed on your resume. Whether it's on the Army side of WLC, ALC, SLC, all those things. If you went to First Sergeant or Sergeant Major's Academy, those things are huge, and they need to be put in civilian terms. But there's a big managerial, the professional development courses. So things like that are huge.
A water cooler brought into the office before they delivered.
Okay, keep going.
That's it.
All right. No problem. Yeah, thanks, Adam, for bringing that out. And he brought up the senior leaders course and advanced leader course, and some of the ways I like to word those are as supervisory and advanced leadership course, or management and advanced leadership course. So those were great points to bring up. We can go ahead and go to the next slide.
Can I chime in for just a moment?
Yes,
sir.
So, my name is Joe Bloomquist. I'm with the U.S. Coast Guard as an education officer and a transition manager.
Yes.
I'm also a job and career transition coach. You're bringing up some very good points. One of the things I like to highlight when we do our TAP classes periodically is that the normal Bureau of Labor and Statistic data, in that approximately 97% of the U.S. populace has never served in the military. So we are the 2 or 3% trying to learn the jargon of the 97. The 97 will never try to learn our jargon or who we are or where we come from. And if we can start to humble ourselves to grasp that, it makes that whole transition piece a little bit easier. As well as, it's not so much what you've done, as much as it is, what do you want to do next? And to have that sure plan. And to reach out to those civilian companies, industries, and in particular professional associations, so that you can better market yourself and prepare yourself for that turn of the page, if you will, of your next chapter.
What did you say your name was, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I worked as a VA benefits advisor for the TAP program at Fort Carson, and so yeah, you bring up some very good points in understanding that 97% or so haven't served. It'll put you in the right mindset. One of the things I like that my manager Spencer Milo said is, does every veteran deserve a job? I think so, but do you have the right to a job? You have the same right that the other 97% of Americans do, and we're here to assist veterans, spouses, and transitioning service members write their resume, so they will have they deserve a fighting chance at getting a job just as much as everybody else.
Absolutely. Go back to the Declaration of Independence.
A big skill set to do that, Joe. I'm sorry, I stepped over you.
That's okay. I go back to the Declaration of Independence. You're entitled to the pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
I'm going to hand it to you. You got to get off your duff and go get it done.
Absolutely.
And just like I said before, remember, job search is up to you. I remember when I was a first sergeant, and it really ticked me off sometimes when they said, you need to do this for, soldier 1, 2, and 3. Why can't Soldier 1, 2, and 3 do that? And that's a big difference when you're out in the civilian world. You know, there's a lot of leadership in the Army that takes care of you, or in the service as general, all the services. When you get out, it's up to you. And you know, one of the things as a leader they taught me is know the organizations that are out there and the resources that are out there to help you to get a job or whatever pursuit that you're going for. Know the resources that are out there. And that's the biggest thing that I can put in there. So here's some advantages to hiring veterans. Entrepreneurial spirit. You know, a lot of veterans get out there and they want to start their own jobs. Red Leg Brewery here in Colorado Springs, started by veterans and doing great things. Advanced technical training. You know, this is one thing that I personally think that the Army doesn't do a great job on unless you're in a technical field like in aviation or an electrician. But the Navy and the Air Force do great jobs at it. You know, if you're a pilot, not a pilot, but a mechanic or a jet engine mechanic in the Air Force or in the Navy, you're most likely when you get out, you're probably going to have an A&P certification ready to go that translates immediately into the civilian world. I have seen Navy, basically military police, I'm sorry I forgot the proper term, I think it's Master at Arms, that have already civilian level type certifications that they've gotten, I think, through the COOL program that state that they have, you know, certifications in corrections and law enforcement and everything that translates right into a career for them. So those are some things that I would like you to take a look at. And then if you are in those services and have those things, know that you're setting yourself up for success before you even get out of the military. You know, we have advanced team building skills. You know, a matter of fact, I think some organizations that have noticed that hiring veterans, they put us in teams, so we work because we work better like that, and that we also have a strong sense of commitment, or I like to say loyalty. You know, at my last job, I actually, even though you know, I like my job and like what I was doing, I wanted to move on to something just a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and I actually felt I was conflicted about, you know, starting a new career, not only being nervous, but leaving the organization that I worked for because the military had just driven that into me. And one of the things that I've learned is that if they hire a veteran, we will most likely stay at a company instead of like 1 to 2 years. We'll stay 3, 5, 6, maybe our whole career. So, Adam, you have anything else?
I believe you've covered everything there. Thanks.
Okay. So, a little bit about that. And Joe, you know, I know you're helping a lot of service members out there, and thanks for what you do. You know, they can go to www.hireheroesusa.org. It's a free service. It's a free resume. Since we're a nonprofit organization, is, you know, not only, you know, the resume that they write through the chat program, that, you know, plus their evaluations, they can give that to us, and we will help them out. I promise you, they will get a great product. And, you know, especially for those service members that are having, and I've seen it from E1 to 06 because I've helped a lot of people write their resume. Everybody is, you know, I've seen people pay $400+ more to get a resume written for them. And what I like to say, the best kind of beer is free beer. Well, the best kind of resume is a free resume, in my book. An organization that will help you and has the same commitments to get the right people to help you move into the career that you want to move into. We can go ahead and move down to the next slide, please. So, just like we've been talking, you know, the reward for hiring veterans is worth it, according to employers. What you get is an individual who has a high integrity, a high sense of honor, and who wants to do their very best, said Roselle Blank, Senior Vice President of Human Resources at MGM Grand Detroit. Because we have a volunteer military, just like Adam says, these veterans have volunteered to do a very tough, very difficult job. And so that's what an organization is going to get with a veteran, along with tax breaks and other things like that out there that can also help that organization out too. And that's all I have for that slide. Adam?
We're good.
Yeah, we'll move on. So here are some of the advantages to hiring a veteran. You know, like I said, we're entrepreneurial. We can go out there, you know, I've known veterans, and I like to call it living to work. That's all they want to do. You know, they're that crusty old sergeant or officer that's been there, and they're at work from 4 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. And those are the type of entrepreneurial people that can go out there and start their own business because they have that ambition and drive and know the right people to hire that will help them in their goals and with their in the community. You know, a lot of us hold advanced technical training. You know, some of the big things that, you know, I've learned about is Lean Sigma 6 and Sigma 6 and green belt and black belts and all that stuff. Some veterans are walking out with certifications just like that when they get out of the military, which could lead to a career. And so if you have something like that, it can help you out immensely. No, most of us have higher resiliency than, you know. So one of the things I like to point out is that basically, you know, I've been told, you know, hey, one of my organizations I worked with, that we used to be able to work till, you know, 2 o'clock or 1400 on a Friday and get out, and then they basically said, no, you need to work a little bit longer. You know, for some people that might chap them. For me, it's like I'm used to it. You know, drive on. You know, and as the military say, embrace the suck and drive on. And you know, when you're working for a civilian organization and they go, well, your hour's going from an hour, your lunch is going from, you know, 2 hours to an hour and a half, I'll be like, yeah, I can handle that. You know, stuff like that. You know, we have like I've already explained, a strong organizational commitment. You know, we're able to assume high levels of trust, not only with the organization, but, you know, a lot of times, you know, managers will send us out to veteran networking events just because they know the positions that we worked in and they trust us. We have advanced team building skills, and we're also comfortable, and hopefully I say discontinuous environments, or the way I look at it is environments that are constantly changing. Things aren't staying the same. We're flexible. We're adaptable. And I don't know if you have anything else to add, Adam.
Oh, you covered everything there. There's, I mean, obviously many more skill sets and, you know, just personal things that military people accrue throughout their military career that make huge advantages when, you know, trying to, you know, obviously get that employment.
And there are organizations looking to hire military veterans out there. You know, the biggest thing that I can say, once have realistic goals, you know. Most likely, one of the things I learned in the VA too, most veterans, 90% of us, will get a job that pays less than what we were making when we were in the military. The good thing I can tell you is we have the ability to either find another job or work our way up in that organization very quickly to do bigger, better things, and you know, hopefully that will lead to a better paycheck. So, you know, I'll go ahead and move on to the last slide, or the last few slides, and we'll move on. Man, adaptable, flexible, hardworking. So let's talk about the military spouse here real quick. You know, so we do resumes for military spouses. And Adam, please help me with the term because I'm having an issue right here. But we write a resume. It's not a resume based on time, but what is it called, Adam? Say it again.
You're talking about a functional resume.
Functional resume, yes, thank you. I don't know why I blanked out for a second. We write a functional resume, and we basically use it for military spouses, or maybe sometime older veterans. You know, I've helped a few Vietnam veterans that have had either breaks in service, or they don't want to put their, you know, the years that they worked. So basically, it just lists, hey, these are the positions that I've worked. Hey, I was a manager, I was a supervisor, I was this, and then you list the things that you did, and you just don't write, you know, the dates or the time grades or time periods, excuse me, that you were there. It's a great resume to basically make spouses stand out. You know, I've seen one of our veteran transition specialists. They go, you know, how much money do you you budget for, I think it was an officer's spouse. How much money do you budget? She's like, well, I'm in charge of a 200K house budget. That's a lot of money. All right, so there are ways to work around the system to make you stand out. And Adam, I don't know if you have anything else on that.
Just to give everybody, a quick thought is we treat everyone the same here at Hire Heroes USA, whether you're, a decorated military vet or you just regularly served or you're a spouse. Our services are here for you. You're treated the exact same. The services are completely free to you as well. So please, if you have a spouse that is, I don't know what their employment situation is, but if they are in need or if they're actively job seeking, please, please come to us. We are happy to work with them. Like you say, is if you do have gaps in employment, a functional resume may be something you go with. Depending on, and we all know the sacrifices that spouses have made just in the last 15 years while, we've been in OIF or OEF. You kidding me? The husband or wife leaving to go off, overseas, and them having to take care of kids and the bills and taking care of the house and everything that comes with that. So that's a huge task in itself, or many tasks in itself. So they sacrificed a lot for this country too, and I think we owe them a debt of gratitude as well.
Yes.
Two quick things.
What's that, Joe?
Two quick things, if I could. One.
Yeah, go ahead.
Potential referral sources. The Military Spouse Employment Program, or MSEP, is basically a consortium of different businesses. They have different groups around the country that have jobs specifically marketed towards military spouses. They have a lot of job boards and sometimes placement that they can help out our military spouses with. The other one, of course, is through Syracuse University, the Veterans Career Transition Program, VCTP. Where it's through a grant through J.P. Morgan Chase, where they will pay for a certification for a 9/11 military member or veteran. So we'd encourage folks to check those things out.
Thanks. And I'd like to encourage you to tell service members, especially I know you're with the Coast Guard, working with them, but tell them about Hire Heroes USA. It's another network.
Do that frequently.
I would tell you that I'm just throwing a quick statistic out there. Probably like 95% of us are veterans. We're hired because we're passionate about doing it. We have best-in-class service. I think right now we have I think they said a 40% conversion rate to get service members jobs, and that's huge when you take a look at, recruiting, for-profit recruiting businesses that can't even do it. So we're out there. We're proven best in class by the Call of Duty endowment. And as me speaking as Dan Coleman, I wish I would have used this service because it just there's so many things that Hire Heroes USA's office Hire Heroes USA offers that are just great. And the two that I can put out there are mock interviews with somebody that's already in that same technical field. It's a civilian that's been working in that career field that just wants to give back to the military. And then the other one is the career coaching. Like I said, that captain talking to an executive recruiter for Starbucks or PepsiCo. He set that young man up to go in there and get a job at Starbucks, and probably told him all the right things that he needed to say. And I think that is, I commend him for doing that, and I think it's just a great service that is offered to veterans, and you can't get that anyplace else for free. With that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide.
Questions.
So we're taking it out to questions. Joe, I don't know if you've linked in with me already. I encourage you to please link in with me if you have any questions or if you need anybody to sign up for Hire Heroes USA. We have 7 offices around the United States, main office being in Alpharetta, Raleigh, Plano, Texas, Colorado Springs, San Diego, LA, and Seattle. So we help out nationally as well throughout the United States. I don't know, Adam, if you got anything else to say.
No, that's it. Joe, I appreciate you coming and visiting with us today on our VetNet, and I appreciate everything.
Do you have anything else? Do you have any questions, Joe?
No, just wanted to commend the organization for what you're doing. Like I said, it's a very needed service. I think over the next couple of years, your services are going to be needed more and more. So please, if you would, reach out to additional locations,
Yes.
as well as try to keep the ones that you have as robust as you can.
Well, I'll also tell you that we do workshops, and I know a lot of them, we have to take a look. I know our leadership has to take a look at, especially money in a budget. Is it within our resources to go? So we hit a lot of the, the bigger naval, Army, and Marine bases up. And it's listed on our website, and it tells when all the workshops are. I highly encourage veterans to also go there. It's just somebody else that can help you. And like I said, it's a veteran connection. One of the things I realized is I'm passionate about helping veterans, and I'm good at it. So that's why I'm working here, and why it's just another veteran resource out there to help somebody. And the way I look at it, and as I've met a few, and the more and more I work here, people just start linking in with me, or a vet that I know that I've done a resume for tells two of her friends, and they both call me and are asking for a resume. It's a great feeling to help somebody get a job, and we have quantifiable results to prove it. And I would just like to thank everybody for being here. I'd like to thank Adam. It's the first time I've gotten to meet him since he's in Alpharetta. But it was great. I appreciate everybody for coming, and please go to www.hireheroesusa.org and check us out. Thank you.